Hey, I'm tripping, I'm sliding, I'm riding through the back like whoa. Mustard on a beat, bro, any rap, he a freak though.
So Kendrick Lamar was #1 last year, and Drake was #2 for obvious reasons. And Kendrick's domination continued well into 2025. So here we are. GNX dropped at the end of 2024, November 22nd, and of course this was gonna be like just part of Kendrick's giant victory lap. Kendrick basically dropped a teaser on YouTube and Instagram, and then the entire album came like 30 minutes later. It was absolutely crazy. It was a surprise drop. I mean, of course we expected it at some point, especially once the Super Bowl was announced, but it was still a surprise and a moment. The album was critically acclaimed. It was short and sweet as far as I am concerned. It's exactly what I needed from Kendrick in the moment. Opening track is nuts. Squabble Up. I'm not a huge fan of the chorus of Squabble Up. Like I despise the chorus, but I really like the verses and I like the beat, and like I can listen to the song. Luther with SZA, obviously one of the biggest songs of the year. We're gonna get into that later. Man at the Garden, which is probably my second favorite song on the album. I just love it. I love how reflective it is. I love how he's declaring what he deserves. I love how it's almost like a speech. Like I picture Kendrick like looking in the mirror, like talking to himself on like some Insecure type stuff, just like gassing himself up. And then the way the song accelerates, and by the end he's like basically screaming about what he deserves. Like I got chills when I first listened to that song. Hey Now and Reincarnated, again, when I'm listening to the album, I can listen to these songs. Are they songs I listen to outside of when I'm spinning GNX? No. TV Off, banger. He ended up doing this at the Super Bowl. Again, I love this beat. I love Kendrick's delivery. The mustard thing was definitely a moment. I find it a little aggravating now, but overall I still like the song. Dodger Blue is a vibe, and I know a lot of my friends in LA really love that track. Peekaboo is my favorite song from GNX. I love this song. We're gonna get into the Super Bowl in a second, but when he did this at the Super Bowl, I screamed. There's something about this song, it's kind of silly, but it's just so smooth, and the animation is fun. The boom bop bing bop bing, like it's a quirky track. I think it just is a good moment for Kendrick and kind of gets you to see like all of what makes him Kendrick Lamar. Like you get the weird voices, you get the bars, you get the feature. Love that song, played it out. It's actually, I think, the song that's easiest to just listen to without listening to the album. I wish he had done more with it. I know it was in a lot of commercials, but like, I don't know, that song is great to me. Heart Part 6 is probably in my top 3, along with Man at the Garden and Peekaboo. I love how he incorporated the SWV track. It just is so nostalgic to me, hearing those vocals, and then how he flipped it to become a part of his Heart series. It's just a great installment for that. And I don't know, I think it's honestly the nostalgia. Like when I listened to GNX for the first time, this one hit me hard. It reminded me of like my parents and being a kid and like listening to certain music when they would like clean and stuff, and when we drive around. That one just really just touched me, and is easily, yeah, one of my favorites for sure. GNX, the title track, probably one of my least favorites, but like I said, I don't skip it when I'm listening to the album in its entirety. And then Gloria with SZA. I actually like Gloria more than Luther, and I think it's a stellar finale track. I think it sounds great. I love SZA's vocals on it. It's almost kind of gospel-like. And yeah, I personally return to this solo more than I do Luther. GNX was obviously huge when it dropped, debuted with over 300,000 copies, nearly 400 million streams, and of course kicked off what was already in itself like Kendrick's Drake feud era, and like all the songs he dropped, in my opinion, were already like the beginning of the era. I'm very glad that none of those songs were on GNX, especially Not Like Us, but we'll get into that in a second as well. So it just seemed like, even though the album was really the beginning of everything, right before the Super Bowl, right before the tour, it almost seemed like a deluxe edition of an album that didn't exist, because Kendrick was always or already so present in 2024 and had dominated the conversation for obvious reasons, that the album itself was just another checked box. The Super Bowl was next in February. Kendrick was the halftime performer for the match of the Chiefs against the Eagles. Very depressing day for me. I was in the bar just embarrassed at the Chiefs performance, but Kendrick made it a little bit more enjoyable. He ended up bringing out SZA, of course, Samuel L. Jackson, Serena Williams, and DJ Mustard. This was obviously a highly anticipated event, not just for Kendrick himself, but because whether people want to admit it or not, they wanted to know if he was going to diss Drake on one of the biggest stages in the world, and of course he did.
Say Drake, I hear you like I'm young.
But let's talk about the set list. We got Squabble Up, we got Humble, we got DNA, we got Euphoria, Man at the Garden, Peekaboo. Again, when those two songs were performed, I was screaming, because typically people, of course, when they do the Super Bowl, they do the hits, right? And it's totally expected for that to be the case, because the Super Bowl is, it's anthemic. It's about those bangers. It's about what could ring off in a stadium. Like, you have just a bunch of random people supporting teams. There's diehards, there's fans that only care about the city, and then you have like the rich people that just bought seats. So it's like you need to have a universally appealing set list. So for him to lean this heavily into the new tracks was crazy for me. And I expected the upbeat stuff, like Squabble Up and TV Off. Oh my God, shut the fuck up, Brett. Every time I'm in the zone, like, I gotta stop for these hoes. I was expecting the bangers like Squabble Up and TV Off, but I was not expecting Man at the Garden. I was not expecting Peekaboo, because I consider Peekaboo a banger, but I didn't think that would be Super Bowl worthy. And so I was absolutely like, I got super hyped as soon as I heard the intro music. So I just thought that was really cool that he actually brought his new music to the stage and kind of had a vision that he stuck with and executed, because that could go south, you know, it could go over poorly, and I don't think it did. After Peekaboo, Luther, of course, with SZA, Into All the Stars, classic. Then Not Like Us, this is where Serena Williams came out and crip walked, which started a whole nother thing in itself, which has nothing to do with Kendrick really, but like, it was just a mess. Of course, it's a little bit of a dig at Drake, right? Let's not be delusional. They used to date. Drake had a little spat with her husband or ex-fiance. I don't really know all of that, but I know there was some contention there. And while that is a factor, we can't ignore the fact that Serena is also from Compton, which I think is the main focus and what really mattered in that moment, even the dance that she was doing. So it's like, I know Drake was kind of hovering over the whole thing and his presence was kind of there like a ghost, but without Drake, there was still a cultural moment. It was still a unified moment. It was about LA, you know, even Mustard, even the songs that they playing songs like Squabble Up and Not Like Us and TV Off. Like, a lot of those sounds are just very regional, which I'm also going to get into later. But again, it was bigger than Drake. The whole performance was great, and rewatching it, I think it holds up. And I think the more you rewatch it, the more you get it. And I think it will age well as people move past the beef. Because one of the things that was annoying about Kendrick's year, and honestly the last couple years, like, people act like Kendrick Lamar isn't Kendrick Lamar. Like, he's always been, you know, even if we look at what was a contributing factor to this feud, the big three conversation. Growing up, it's always been Kendrick, Drake, and Cole. People swap the orders, but those have undeniably been mainstream as far as hip hop goes. Like, they've always led the conversation as far as their reach, as far as their skill, and that combination of like how much they contribute to hip hop versus how commercially appealing they are. Like, they've been the biggest three. That's always been a thing. So people trying to act like Kendrick only got the Super Bowl because of Drake, that he only had hit songs because of Drake, like, all of that stuff makes zero sense. And like I said, I think as time goes on, if people go back to watch this performance, they will understand this was a good show, and this was a good representation and statement for Kendrick Lamar as an artist. I really, really liked it a lot. Now, what happens when somebody's having a bomb-ass era? They headline the Super Bowl. Of course, they have to go on tour. The Grand National Tour kicked off, which Kendrick co-headlined with SZA. It started in April, I think. Yeah, April 19th, 2025, and went all the way to this month in December. I think if he has not already done his last show, he'll probably have finished it by the time this video is posted. Global tour, multiple countries, record-breaking. He ended up becoming the highest grossing co-headlining tour of all time. They ended up grossing $256.4 million from just the North American shows, and ended up passing Beyonce and Jay-Z's On the Run tour gross, which was $253.5 million, which is crazy to think about. And again, just kind of shows you how big of a year Kendrick has had. Now, I'm all for collaboration. I'm all for partnerships. I'm all for, you know, people having a work wife and a work husband. But once this Grand National Tour started, I feel like Kendrick and SZA were just like a 2-for-1 BOGO coupon. Luther spent 13 consecutive weeks at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. That is 3 months-ish, okay? 3 months consecutive. Now, as someone who preferred Gloria, as I listened to GNX, I did not see this coming. Like, it's a cute song, but 3 months at #1, 1.3 billion streams on Spotify alone. As of me filming this video, it's still getting 1.6 million streams daily. Like, clearly it's a hit. But damn, Kendrick's love songs for me are always hit or miss, because there's something about his voice. It's not that it makes me laugh, but it's just like when he's talking about introducing them to that fa. I'm just like, I can't.
Introduce them to that light, hit them strictly with that fa.
But if y'all like it, I love it, but I don't. All the Stars also seem to get like a random Super Bowl extended second wind, and is still getting 1.6 million daily, the same as Luther. And then they also dropped 30 for 30 earlier in the year, which was from SZA's like 50-track deluxe. And that was also in rotation. So again, the Kendrick and SZA propaganda was out of control. And it was like, y'all might as well just hurry up and drop the collab album, because it seems like the chemistry is there. It seems like people are receptive to it. The tour is breaking records. The songs are decimating streams. Like, we just couldn't catch a break. And SZA is so huge right now. And to have her join forces in Kendrick's like marquee year, it was just a recipe for overexposure. Not Like Us is also persistent throughout this whole thing, and I feel like Not Like Us's just dominating presence kind of shot some of GNX's album songs potential in the foot, because I really truly feel, in my non-professional opinion, that songs like Peekaboo, songs like Squabble Up, songs like TV Off, and even some other songs that kind of flew under the radar compared to those could have been even bigger had Not Like Us gotten out of the fucking way. I am so sick of Not Like Us. And I told y'all in my video last year that I didn't even care for the song last year. Like I said, I thought the battle ended at Euphoria. I didn't need Meet the Grams. I didn't need anything else from Drake. I didn't need Not Like Us. I didn't need any of this. Now that everybody has calmed down, I feel more comfortable going into depth about this damn song and how horrible I think it is. I understand the cultural relevance. I understand the regional sound. I understand what Mustard did. I understand what Kendrick did. I completely get it. Don't think I don't. All that being said, I still hate this shit. I respect what the song did, and that it became one of those diss tracks that just grew beyond the battle that it came from, which there's numerous examples of that happening in hip-hop history, Drake's back-to-back being one of them. And I think this is a song that I will listen to as time goes on when I'm feeling nostalgic, like when I want to think about the time Kendrick dragged Drake by his lace front, and I play all the songs from the beef, you know, years from now. Like, I will of course spin Not Like Us, but this is just not a song that I am about to be listening to every day. The beat gives me a headache at this point. I know it's regional, but removed from all the beef hoopla, it ain't for me, right? I don't expect y'all to care about Country Grammar by Nelly today, so understand what I'm saying. I'm also not trying to hear the word pedophile on a regular basis. The rapper name drops the A minor, like it's all just very dated at this point to me, and I repeat, I am so glad that he did not put this shit on GNX. I think that is one of the smartest things that he has ever done, because again, when people look back on this period, the album is going to matter. That's his artistic statement. All this other stuff associated with the beef needs to stay with the beef, and that's what I feel about this song. Like, go away. That being said, these last 2 years for Kendrick have been historic, and that is not to say that he has not had a great career prior to 2024, because he has, but the run that he has been on, the fact that he won the beef, the fact that he released a great album, the fact that he headlined the Super Bowl, the fact that he had a record-breaking tour, like back to back to back to back, that is legendary shit. That's like once in a lifetime shit. So even though some of it irked me, even though some of it has run its course for me, I recognize the greatness for what it was and what it is. Kendrick is stamped, whether we're talking about hip hop culture or pop culture. Like, again, a song like his biggest song from the album right now is a love R&B SZA ballad, right? So y'all can't say he's not a pop star. He does both. He's just as diverse. He's just as versatile. He can get a rap hit. He can get a love song hit. He can get a reflective hit. He can do it all. Stop playing in his face, okay? Now, if he disappears for another 5 years and allows y'all to forget, that's his own fault, but trust, he will be back to remind y'all whenever he does decide to give us music ever again. Because as soon as he comes back, it's gonna be fire. Fa fa fa. Fa fa.